when you think of African communities in America, you think of the Nigerian community, Ghanaian, but you don't really think about Sudanese. We're not visible.
Mm.
And that invisibility makes it difficult for people to care. Makes sense. You don't have anything to connect it to. Who do I know who's Sudanese, or where have I seen Sudan? Nigerian and Ghanaian, we have the Jollof Wars. We know like what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Do not get us
We
strays
got
in here.
Afro
Come
beef,
on now.
right? We got Afro beef or whatever. Like,
Hmm.
but Sudan doesn't have that same sort of popular visibility in popular culture. And so people don't really know anything about Sudan. So how can they care about a people that they've never seen? And to me, the first step for anybody who really sees themselves as someone who cares about humanity, or who wants to be involved in these sorts of causes, is to learn about the people. And um, and also that effort goes beyond what's readily available to you without
Hmm.
effort. Um, you know, my videos are not enough for people to understand Sudan and Sudanese people. You gotta At some point you gotta go do that on your own. And I'm happy to help. I'm happy to point you in the right direction. I share videos on Insta stories all the time for things that fall outside of just the war. A lot of art, a lot of music, a lot of whatever.
Hmm.
And that's an invitation. That's a subtle invitation for you to go dive in some more on that. The more you know about a people, the more connected you feel to them, even if you don't know them personally, right? And um, yeah, the more you know about them, the more connected you feel, the more compelled you feel to do something. So I mean, that's what I would advise.
Yeah.
Um, Trends die out, and soon the world will move on to something else, and TikTok will move on to something else, and that'll be that.
Hmm.
But can you say that you are for humanity if you're swayed by the algorithm? Can you say that you cared about the cause if you don't remember it, don't look for it the moment the algorithm suppresses it or moves on to something else? Somebody said, I really appreciate the comments that say, your videos are not coming up for me anymore. I have to come look for your page.
Mm.
That to me is really somebody who's interested, somebody who really cares. Because, first of all, you remembered my account.
Right.
You remember my handle. That's crazy to me. Because somebody, I saw a TikTok the other day that was like, you know, I, we don't even remember people's accounts. Like we just be scrolling one
Right.
video to the next. You might have liked the video, but you don't know what that person's account name is. You don't know
Hmm.
how to come back to their content.
Yeah.
So if people go out of their way to check my account, I I am so grateful for that. I'm so appreciative for that, and that also tells me that that person really is invested versus just like, oh yeah, I can't find any content on Sudan. It's like click on the hashtag.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is click on the hashtag.
Yeah. I think
You know.
no, and I mean, again, I think you were doing so much in this because look, I'm gonna say this, man. Not everybody has the patience that you do. I feel like I have a decent amount of patience also to explain things to people, because I know that not everybody does. And sometimes there will come a
Mhm.
day or there will come, a month stretch where I just run out of patience. And I don't have time to
Yeah.
be answering the same question to everybody over and over and over again about whatever it is they want to know about me or people who look like me or people who don't look
Mhm.
like me that I happen to have some kind of a connection to. Right. And I'll just not have the energy to engage. And it's, I
Mhm.
mean, and you've, I mean, as you said, one of the things that drives you obviously is it has to do with your family, right? But even then, that doesn't mean that, you know, one can just continue asking. It's just because it can go two different ways, right? One is just fam, Google. But we also know that not everybody genuinely has the patience to Google. And it means, and that is why things like these ridiculous social media strategies that we find ourselves, being told to use, like, hey, summarize what you're going to say in the first 15 seconds, the first 3 seconds,
Hmm.
or, show a picture first, or make your videos shorter or whatever. But I think also,
Do a dance while you talk about, or
would you say?
do a trending TikTok dance while
Oh
you're
my
talking
gosh,
about it,
yes,
so
yeah,
that
hit, yeah,
so that
do
they'll
do
come up on the algorithm.
yeah, exactly. Which, look, some people do that, and I have no, like, I remember the argument about, I don't know if you remember those memes about, uh it would be something to be somebody cooking, and then all of a sudden it would say, also, by the way, arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor, which
Hmm.
is just,
Hmm.
I talked to one of my former coworkers about that. Like, what do you think the people in that community feel like that? Like, what does the family think about it? And I think it's mixed. It's mixed
Hmm.
because on one hand it feels mad disrespectful. On the other hand, I got your attention, and maybe
Yeah.
you were one in 100 people who wasn't really thinking about it, but it jarred you enough to maybe go do something. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
also think, one of the things that I listen, any of my former coworkers, you heard me say that, people would hear me say this all the time. I would say this about almost everywhere. I would say, yo, when's the last time you saw a news story or any mini doc or whatever with somebody speaking in Spanish where they're not talking about getting deported or shot at?
Mm.
You dig what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, when's the last time you saw genuinely anything in Africa where it's not somebody getting kicked out, hungry, or shot at? And like,
Yep.
Mexicans do some cool shit, I promise you, constantly. And that's just what I'm familiar with, right? There's stuff they do I don't even know about. I haven't discovered that yet. But I will get incredibly frustrated because, listen, I know border issues are important. I understand all that. We got to talk about that. But like, if every single time you see a brown face, they're crying or they're not
Yes.
alive, like, come on, man. And like, you
Yeah.
you really mean to tell me, you really mean to tell me that there's not one Sudanese person making some cool music, cooking some cool food,
Right.
doing something artistic, throwing some paint at a wall, doing some kind of art form that I don't even have a word for yet? Truly, you mean that? I refuse to believe that. And so, yeah, if my first interaction is, I don't know where this is on a map, and it looks like they're fighting again, okay, let me keep scrolling. I genuinely feel like this is a larger societal stuff. It's hard for me to blame any one person, you dig, but I feel like, yo, if you're not even being exposed to stuff that helps people register as somebody that you'd want to talk to, that maybe you do talk
Hmm.
to, you just don't know anything about them. Maybe you see them at the shop all the time, you just don't know. Then
Right.
how is it a surprise that we wave it off and say, "Oh man, they doing that thing again"? Damn.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's also something that we struggle with, or I also, I'll speak for myself. I struggle
Mm.
with that because I understand that we need to build our human image in the world. We need to build that. That's not a thing that is given to us by virtue of being human. We have to show that we are. Um, and I understand the value of showing that we are in order to garner attention for what we're going through. But there's also,
You shouldn't
on the
have to do
flip
that.
side,
What you're
shouldn't
saying,
have, shouldn't
this is
have
a
to, but
wild
yeah,
paragraph you just said.
yeah. But on the flip side, you know, to prove your point that we shouldn't have to, is the Sudanese reaction to seeing content that isn't war related, because it's interpreted as you've moved on. We're dying, and you're talking about a song. You're talking about A dance?
Man,
You're talking about somebody painting? What are we doing right now?
you're getting
Right?
it both ways, coming and going.
And yeah, and that's understandable because yeah, yeah, I don't want to talk about you know that music festival that that Sudanese person performed at. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. That's stupid to me right now. Personally, it makes me mad, right?
Mm.
But I have to show that so people know that we have a life outside of conflict.